Tonight, race against the virus.
We aren't at the finish line.
Even as the U.S. rules out a vaccine passport.
Government should not require any Texan to show proof of vaccination.
On the border, a little boy abandoned and alone, detained by Border Patrol agents in Texas. And
my opinion was that the force was excessive.
Use of force experts testify in the Derek Chauvin murder trial over the death of George Floyd. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Open enrollment for the COVID-19 vaccine. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder. That's the word from President Biden, who says starting April 19th, any American adult who wants a COVID-19 vaccine will be able to get one. This, as the CDC now says, the more deadly and contagious UK variant is the most common strain in the United States. CBN's Abigail Robertson joins us with the latest. Abigail, the president is encouraging everyone who can to get in line.
While new variants of COVID-19 are rapidly spreading across the country, the good news is the vaccines seem to be effective against them. Still, President Biden warns we're in a race against time.
We're still in a life and death race against this virus.
Biden hopes we'll see a return to normal by the 4th of July, but encourages Americans to take precautions until then.
Even moving at the record speed we're moving at, we're not even halfway through vaccinating over 300 million Americans. This is going to take time.
44% of new COVID cases are coming from just 5 states: New York, New Jersey, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan.
We're seeing the numbers go up, and we're still seeing that sick patient population coming in. We can definitely feel that there is an uptick, for the sick patient coming in.
Michigan healthcare workers say they're concerned by the ages of the patients being hospitalized.
We're seeing a lot more younger adults, middle-aged adults being affected, getting sick and coming in.
The CDC director warns daycare centers and youth sports are leading to a rise in cases amongst youth.
65,000 cases, that's 65,000 opportunities for mutations to occur, for more variants to spread.
But Dr. Anthony Fauci says there is good news on the efficacy of the vaccines.
Antibodies delivered by vaccination persist at least through 6 months, and likely from the shape of the curve well beyond that.
And he assures Americans the end will come.
We'll know it when we see it. It'll be obvious as the numbers come down rather dramatically. And when they do, we're going to wind up getting really stepwise much, much more towards what we consider approaching a degree of normality, which everyone really quite dramatically notices it. It's on the way. Hang in there.
Dr. Fauci also says the federal government will not require American citizens to carry vaccine passports, although he foresees some businesses implementing their own rules requiring them. Reporting from Virginia, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Okay, thanks, Abby. Meanwhile, President Biden pushing his infrastructure plan, making remarks today with Vice President Harris. But Republican opposition to the enormous $2.3 trillion proposal has been swift, with Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell saying that as it's written, it's a non-starter. Senior Washington correspondent Tara Merchner is here with more on what the president had to say. Tara?
Well, Jenna, this massive spending plan aims to push the U.S. to a so-called 100% clean economy by 2035, with that $2.3 trillion invested over the next 8 years. Now, the Biden administration says it will revitalize the American economy and create millions of good-paying jobs in a number of sectors, lower the country's carbon emissions, and help the U.S. compete on the world stage. The plan also aims to retrofit millions of buildings, eliminate lead pipes from America's water supply, and have more electrical vehicle charging stations installed on the nation's roads, among other things like expanding internet access. Biden wants major progress on this by Memorial Day and the bill passed by summer. Republicans are strongly against this for many reasons, including the cost and the scope of the plan. The Biden administration pushed back on criticism today, but says it is open to negotiation.
In the next few weeks, the Vice President and I will be meeting with Republicans and Democrats to hear from everyone and we'll be listening. We'll be open to good ideas and good faith negotiations. But here's what we won't be open to. We will not be open to doing nothing. Inaction simply is not an option.
Now, the White House estimates the plan will be paid for in the next 15 years by a big tax hike on corporations. Republicans say that is the last thing the economy needs, and it will only drag it down. Jenna.
All right, Tara Merchner, thank you. More on this with CBN's chief political analyst David Brody coming up later. But to the Derek Chauvin murder trial in Minneapolis now. Today, use of force experts took the witness stand. Sergeant Jody Steiger, a use of force expert from the Los Angeles Police Department, said the severity of George Floyd's crime, possession of a fake $20 bill, did not change during the time he was being restrained, and that Floyd did not pose an immediate threat while on the ground.
And why not?
Because he was in the prone position, he was handcuffed, he was not attempting to resist, he was not attempting to assault the officers, kick, punch, or anything of that nature.
Chauvin's defense team pressed the LAPD expert on whether police were justified in using force to get Floyd into the back of the squad car before he was restrained on the ground.
Mr. Floyd was actively resisting efforts to go into the backseat of the squad car.
Yes, sir.
And the officers were reasonable in their use of force in their attempt to get him into the back of the squad car. Agreed?
Agreed.
And the latest testimony comes in a trial expected to last 4 weeks. Well, construction of the southern border wall could soon resume under the Biden administration. The Washington Times reporting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said he may restart border wall construction. In a conversation with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement last week, Mayorkas said construction would include gaps, gates, and areas where the wall has been completed but the technology has not been implemented. The Washington Times report comes as new video emerges from the southern border of a lost 10-year-old boy. Border Patrol agents picked up the migrant boy in Texas, where he was found alone and desperate for help. And here with us now is Congresswoman Kat Cammack, Republican lawmaker from Florida. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. So you are on the southern border right now examining the situation firsthand. What have you found?
Well, what I've seen is just unconscionable. It is the most heartbreaking humanitarian crisis that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And what I saw just yesterday was 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds walking up to Border Patrol agents out of the brush. It's unconscionable, really. There's no other word. You get so upset and you want to cry, but then you get so angry because this is a man-made disaster from the lack of leadership that we have in Washington. I saw and spoke with young girls who have taken 17, 20-day journeys from Guatemala, Honduras, up through being escorted by cartels. Their parents have paid $6,000. And when they're struggling to speak, we ask the Border Patrol agents why they're having a hard time speaking. And it's because they've lost their voice from screaming because they have been raped. It is unconscionable what we are seeing down here. This is a humanitarian crisis. This is a national security crisis. And we are encouraging this through the policies of the Biden administration. This is human trafficking happening right in front of us. And if you are a 6-year-old, you are being trafficked back and forth, used as a pawn by the cartels.
So I understand you went on a walking tour to see the current operations at the border. What was that experience like? What did you see on that walking tour?
So what we've seen is a couple of different things. The wall, for example. The wall construction has stopped completely. In this sector alone, the Rio Grande Valley sector, which is the busiest one as far as apprehensions, narcotics, smuggling happening, they were allocated a little over $2 billion for 110 miles of border wall back in 2017. To date, they only have 23 miles completed. And of that 23 miles, only 3 miles has the technology that has the sensors, the cameras, and the lights as part of it. There's gaps everywhere. And because of the humanitarian crisis, they have taken the 900 Border Patrol agents that would be in the field apprehending and turning people around, They're now in the Donna facility and elsewhere, basically glorified babysitters trying to manage the humanitarian crisis with all of the unaccompanied minors that have come across. The border wall, it works. I have talked to dozens of agents and they say, we need the wall. Please resume construction. And the most egregious thing of this is that we're still paying the contractors.
So we're told you also toured a migrant processing facility. Was that the Donna facility?
Yes, so we saw both the Donna facility where they are processing children and families, but we also saw TOPS. TOPS is literally a bridge, and then underneath that bridge, it's construction, wiring and barricades that they have put together, kind of like a nightmare Disneyland of sorts, where illegals can come right up, self-report, basically just walk up and say, hey, I'm an unaccompanied minor and I'm supposed to turn myself in, not just cross the river. And they get processed and then they get turned over to an NGO. And then the NGO pays for a bus ticket to go anywhere in the United States that they want to go. They are just completely overwhelmed. And this is happening with facilities all along the border. The conditions are as best as the Border Patrol agents can make them. Customs and Border Patrol has done a phenomenal job with the limited resources that they have. But at the end of the day, these folks are not here to be babysitting children. They're here to be protecting our borders. And we are being distracted by this humanitarian crisis that's happening. Meanwhile, narcotics are flowing at a rate of 5,000% increase from just last year.
So let me ask you this. You know, we see this situation really worsening by the day. We see some of these images. Yeah. Here's horrific stories. Congresswoman, what do you think is the solution?
The solution really is implementing what the Trump administration had put in place. Something as simple as a queue, establishing a queue where people coming across a legal port of entry, if that goes away, which it's currently being litigated right now as something that should go away, if that goes away, we're going to see thousands of illegal migrants trying to basically rush to get across that single white line onto U.S. territory, because then that automatically triggers a process. With a queue, it's orderly and it allows Customs and Border Patrol to allocate their resources to narcotics detection, to the smuggling. We have gang members, terrorist watch list folks that are coming across. These are the things that Border Patrol agents need to be focusing their resources on, not processing unaccompanied minors who are being brought over by the cartels by the thousands.
Well, Congresswoman Kat Cammack of Florida, we appreciate you being with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And coming up, why a left-leaning Supreme Court justice says Democrats should think long and hard before packing the court.
To have sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
The Supreme Court's oldest justice is warning Democrats about major changes to the High Court. Justice Stephen Breyer, who's 84 years old, telling Harvard law students that advocates of court packing should, quote, think long and hard about what they're proposing. Breyer says a politically driven change could diminish trust the American people place in the court. And here with us now, CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody. David, he's 84 years old, the oldest justice on the Supreme Court. There's a lot of talk about Justice Breyer retiring soon so that President Biden, a Democrat, could appoint someone new to replace him. Do you think this speech in some ways might signal a possible farewell?
I think to a degree, for sure. Obviously Joe Biden being president, so it would make sense that Breyer would step down, in the next couple of years here for sure. And I also think as you get older, you let it rip a little bit more. And that's exactly what Stephen Breyer did. Look, if a liberal is calling out liberals for wanting to pack the court, and that's not good for liberals and, of course, the court of public opinion. But the truth of the matter is, he talks about how people will lose trust in the courts. Look, that has gone on for a long time now. A lot of folks, a lot of Americans have lost trust in the courts, both on the Republican and Democrat side.
David, let's talk about infrastructure and the president's $2.3 trillion proposal. There's a lot of debate over what actually counts as infrastructure. Democrats seem to be taking a lot of liberties with that definition.
Yeah, they do. So there's the hard infrastructure, right? Roads, bridges, highways. And then there's something, here's a new term for you, Jen. This is what Democrats are calling it. Jen Psaki calling it social infrastructure. All right, so let's unpack that a little bit. That means more money for long-term elderly care. It means child care, and we can go down the list. In essence, what the White House is saying here is that this isn't an infrastructure bill. This is a jobs bill. As a matter of fact, those aren't my words. Those are Jen Psaki's words. When asked about the infrastructure portion of this, they're changing, not the goalposts necessarily, but they're changing the verbiage. They're no longer calling it really an infrastructure bill. They are calling it an overall jobs bill that has both hard infrastructure and social infrastructure inside. It's a little bit being too cute by half, but this is what politicians do on both sides of the aisle.
Now, do you think it'll work on the American people? Politico, they had a great piece today that talked about, if you count infrastructure as transportation, electricity, and internet, about $800 billion of this $2.3 trillion plan would go to that. What do you think, David?
Yeah, well, and those numbers seem to be correct at this point. Look, I think whether or not they think the American public is with them or not, we're going to finally have a final verdict in 2022 in those midterm elections. We'll see if all this government spending and all of this government control overspending is going to backfire in Democrats. So I don't think we really are going to have a full answer until November of 2022. But I will simply say that this is going to be interesting to watch. Here's the truth of the matter, Jenna. It's not going to take any Republican votes. Democrats are going to pass this in budget reconciliation ultimately with no Republicans. That means you watch Joe Manchin and they got to keep Joe Manchin happy. He wants a 25% corporate tax rate increase. Biden wants a 28% corporate tax rate increase. That's where the wiggle room is.
Well, we'll see what happens. If Democrats do push this through without any bipartisan support, they'll also have to take full ownership of it. So we'll see. All right, David, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You too.
And we'll be right back after this.
Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
Well, have you ever wondered why it's so hard to just eat one of those potato chips or cookies? Why do so many Americans find processed foods irresistible? There is a good reason for that. Food companies actually engineer them to be addictive. So just how do you get that? How do they get you hooked? Medical reporter Lori Johnson explains.
Processed foods barely existed just 50 years ago and now rake in $1.5 trillion each year. So why do these products make up 90% of what's on our grocery store shelves and comprise 3/4 of our daily calorie intake?
I've been crawling through the underbelly of the processed food industry for 10 years now, and I continue to be shocked by the level of their cunning deviousness, if you will, and being able to sort of figure out what draws us to their products to make us want not just like them, but want more and more. And of course,
in his book, Hooked, investigative journalist Michael Moss claims food companies make their products addictive by taking advantage of our weaknesses.
Biologically, these deep instincts we have make us incredibly vulnerable to overeating.
Bodies naturally crave sugar, fat, and salt. And processed foods are packed with highly condensed amounts, much more than we use in home cooking.
They get the brain excited, and it sends a signal saying, wow, Michael, I love that. Can I have some more of that?
And to feed that craving, food manufacturers can add some 56 different types of sugar to their products, creating an expectation that everything we consume should taste sweet.
Our brain doesn't say, wait a minute. Michael, you just ate 2,000 calories in that snack bag. Stop, wait a minute. Your brain is going to put to sleep and it's going, okay, let's have some more. Great taste.
Getting us hooked on great taste is only the beginning. The processed food industry also spends a lot of time and money engineering just the right texture. If a food feels good in our mouth, we'll want more. They make feeding that desire easy, too, because of the low cost.
But it's also something that sends that signal to the brain, wow, I love cheapness of this food. I want more of it.
Food manufacturers understand we get excited by anything new, so they constantly add to an already wide variety, knowing it's nearly impossible to resist all the choices.
It's called the smorgasbord effect, and it's why you can eat at a smorgasbord, fill up until you're stuffed, but then look down the table and see something new and go, okay, I can fit that in.
There's also that devious aspect Moss mentioned. These food giants take advantage of our desire to feel like we're making healthy choices. So believe it or not, they also make some of our most popular diet foods.
But really, when you looked at the ingredients and the nutrition, weren't all that different from their full-calorie foods.
Plastering buzzwords like protein and fiber on packages can also mislead.
And so they're adding protein to sugary cereal that's still probably not so healthy for you. They're putting in lots of fiber in products and touting that on the front of the label, even though a lot of that fiber really doesn't work to fill you up like fiber should.
And finally, food companies exploit our desire to make eating easy.
Convenience is another one of those big driving forces.
So now that we understand the processed food industry's tactics, how do we defend ourselves? You can start by cooking at home from scratch. But don't worry, it doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. For example, it only takes 5 minutes to cook this fish on the stove while microwaving this sweet potato. Eat foods that closely resemble their natural form, also known as whole foods, paying particular attention to ones in the produce department.
Still ahead, from foster care to family, this trio of siblings are finally under one roof.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Finally tonight, family reunion. After being separated through foster care for more than 4 years, 3 newly adopted siblings are back together and celebrating with their new family. Jennifer Vetter fostered the kids for 2 years before deciding to give them a forever home, and the whole neighborhood is celebrating.
Now they just get to be children and heal and be happy and loved, and they are so loved.
And Jonathan, Madeline, and Benjamin were honored at their new home in New Hampshire with a socially distanced car parade. Vetter says she is grateful the kids can focus now on just growing up. And we'll leave it right there. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.